Hey everyone, Avi here. Today we're bringing you snippets of a live show we recorded at Omnitsky's Deli in Vancouver, BC.
You might be asking why we recorded an episode in a kosher deli. Well, it's because the owner of Omnitsky's, Richard Wood, made a unique move when he opened his restaurant a few years ago. He hired the deli's first ever head chef, a Palestinian Muslim man named Mustafa. Every day, between serving up smoked meat sandwiches and coleslaw, Mustafa takes a little space in his kitchen to roll out his Sakkejha mat and pray.
We wanted to learn more, so Yafa and I flew out to Vancouver to meet Richard and Mustafa in person and dine together over a truly incredible meal. It's one thing to hear a podcast about building bridges, but actually living in good faith means putting those words to action. So we invited 50 people, Jews and Muslims, Israelis and Palestinians, community leaders and lay people, crammed them all into Omnitsky's Deli, where we encouraged our guests to sit with members outside their community groups for an evening of new connections and traditional cuisine. So hi, welcome to a meal that we hope to share with you in good faith. When we were trying to come up with the concept for a live show here in Vancouver, we somehow struck on the idea that yes, it would be cool to share a meal together. And when we found out that the only kosher deli west of Toronto has a Palestinian chef, we were like, it's almost too hard to not do it here. So tonight, we hope to present you with some dishes from Chef Mustafa, and we hope that you enjoy them and that they spark conversation. A couple of thank yous. We'd like to thank the Ronald S. Roadberg Foundation and the CRF, the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, for shepherding this project from the beginning all the way through to now. Thank you to Chef Mustafa Ghanim for preparing food for us. Thank you to Richard Wood for graciously hosting us here at Omnitsky's. The podcast series is about having difficult conversations, which I think we've been doing quite well so far. Difficult conversations are things that you sometimes have with people that you disagree with. And it's okay to disagree with people, but the most important thing is to be able to actually talk to them. One of the things we realized when putting this meal together is that it's very, very difficult to hate somebody that you share a meal with, that you break bread with. And we hope that that is something that you can practice over tonight, that the listeners can practice if they're listening to us at a later time. And we really think that this is something that can bring us together. In that spirit, the food tonight is going to be communal style, right? Hummus is served with a pita, and everybody eats out of a communal plate. And I think that that is a remarkable and important symbol to be able to think about. And the rest of the food will be served community, family style as well. So be able to keep that in mind when we are having our meal.
When I think about communal eating, I remember so I was born in Toronto, and does anybody know what mlokhiyeh is? Can you raise your hand if you know what mlokhiyeh is? All right, obviously everybody over here that I brought. Michael Croft, you learned about mlokhiyeh from Noor? Amazing. Your grandmother made it. Okay. So yeah, my grandmother made it as well. I don't know whose recipe is going to be, I like mine, you like yours. But I think what was amazing is that when we grew up we would drive to this farm in Markham. Did you guys ever go to the farm in Markham? There was one guy. So when I heard the interview with not Richard, the former owner of Omnitsky's, I'm so sorry, Epi was like, yeah, I'm holding down the fort because this is the one outpost west of Mississauga. And that reminded me of the guy who makes mlokhiyeh that grew a farm in Markham, and he was the one guy that grew this special leaf that we only know about, this green leaf in Markham. So we would go and drive up, and we would create these communal meals. And now when I make mlokhiyeh at home, it doesn't feel right that I buy it frozen. It doesn't feel right that I'm making it alone, because I should be making it sitting on the floor with all of 10 women of 3 generations while we're all manually cleaning this together on a bed sheet and laughing and taking hours. And so I just wanted to say, absolutely, I'm here in partnership with you, Avi, Rabbi Finegold.
We'll learn about my food journey a little bit later. Yeah. But so before we get to anything, without further ado,
Mustafa Ghanim.
Quick note here, Mustafa isn't much of a public speaker, so our producer Zach Kaufman, who'd been speaking to him in the kitchen earlier, asked the questions himself.
I'm Mustafa from Nablus. I grew up there, and what I said? What more?
From Shechem, you went to Tel Aviv.
That's Richard Wood, the owner of Omnitsky's.
How come you went to Tel Aviv? Your wife is an Israeli Arab.
Yeah,
Right? You have 3 children.
He's saying you have 3 children. Mustafa corrects him, 2.
When did you come to Canada?
Before 4 years. Almost, 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah. And before that, I'm in Tel Aviv about maybe 8 years. And yeah, I born and I grew up in Nablus. My wife, she from the Israeli and Arab, it's like Israeli Muslim, yeah.
And had you worked in a kosher restaurant before?
Yeah, it's about 9 years. I'm
9
working,
years?
Yeah, before here.
So was it hard for you to learn about any of the rules of kashrut? Or?
Yeah, first, but after it was fine. Yeah.
And tell me, what are we about to have for this first course? What are we about to eat?
We're gonna have dips, hummus, muhammara, baba ganoush with bita.
Did you grow up eating those foods?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah.
Are they different than Nablus and how you make them here?
No, it's same.
Those the same?
Same, almost.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who do you think you make it better than your mom or your grandma?
For sure.
So we're having hummus.
Hummus, muhammara.
What's muhammara?
It's roasted bell pepper. It's a Syrian dish, Aleppo. It's like we share, it's like between Arab. Yeah, it's with pomegranate molasses, pecan, and yeah, this stuff.
Cool. And what's the third?
It's baba ganoush. It's a smoked roasted eggplant with tahini and pomegranate. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
So we're gonna let the chef
We're gonna let
get everything
Mustafa
going
finish
here.
up.
No, thank you. I just want to say a couple of things about Mustafa because he's not a person that likes to talk about himself. So when Mustafa, when I got this application probably about a year ago, I was looking for a restaurant chef for this new store that we were opening, and I had this application from a Mustafa Ghanim. And I saw that that he had worked in Tel Aviv for 8 years, and I was a bit I was a little bit nervous. I thought he has a good resume, but it wasn't such a good time back then. So what should we do? But I did know of other Jewish restaurants where Jews and Arabs had worked together side by side and continue to do so. So, I have, working for me, I have a Algerian butcher, and we get on very well together. Although some of my other staff are not so keen on him, but I like him. I happen to like him. So, I met Mustafa, and we got on like a house on fire, and we talk about food. I come in and I call him and I say, Habibi, how you doing today? And he says, oh, Richard, my friend, what are you doing to me? Why don't I have the groceries that I need? But to me, it's working together. It's about achdut, about unity, and step by step that we can show the rest of the world.
Amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay.
After Mustafa got back into the kitchen, we caught up a bit more with Richard to learn about his story and the history of Omnitsky's.
So what is Omnitsky? So Omnitsky, as I was telling Rabbi Finegold on Shabbat, in my mind is Canada's only kosher deli, because there's no kosher deli in Toronto or Montreal that I know of where you can sit down. So we're very lucky that in Vancouver we have a kosher deli where you can actually sit down and eat.
Okay.
What made you
West.
What made you want to own a deli?
So what made me, that is a long story. So
We got time.
I grew up in a small town on the south coast of England called Brighton, and in Brighton, when I grew up, we had a couple of kosher butchers and we had a couple of kosher delis, and over the years, it was a small community. Slowly, one by one, they all closed. And today you go to Brighton, and luckily, Baruch Hashem, there is one kosher restaurant that opened a couple of years ago. But and otherwise, in small communities, kosher stores are closing. So in Vancouver, I thought to myself, well, I don't want the same thing to happen here. And in my mind, you have synagogue, you have a Jewish day school, you have mikveh. These are all essentials. And after that, it should be the kosher butcher. So that's why we're here today.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it all. I've tasted some of your Montreal smoked meat.
Yes.
It is passable. You should all order it. No. I'm a Montrealer, so I do thank you for not attempting at making bagels, which you British people call bagels for some reason. It's I'm not going to go there, but everything else is wonderful. I was here last night. I had a great meal, and so thank you so much for welcoming us and making us part of your family here tonight. We're gonna get the next course out in a minute.
Yeah, so it's a roasted eggplant with pomegranates. It's on a bed of tahina, and also it's got coriander in there, and a salsa. Mustafa told me that he makes himself. So I mean, what is so special about this tahina is it's ha bracha tahina. So Mustafa was telling me earlier that he grew up with this tahina. He says the best tahina you can get. He says they roast the sesame in Nablus, and then they ship it to Habracha, which is just on the other side, where they grind it into tahina. That particular area, located between two mountains, is very unique. So.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I also just want to acknowledge Richard for just the pronunciations. I appreciate that you say Mustafa. Thank you for saying Mustafa. Let's everybody 1, 2, 3, Mustafa. Yes.
It's very funny because everyone else, they call him Mustafa. And when I got his resume, I thought his name is Mustafa. He's never told me that it's anything else.
An instinct. You just knew. So Avi, do you have anything that is Jewish Canadian? So for example, when I say Palestinian Canadian, I think about I eat my eggs and I cook them in olive oil. I put za'atar on them, and then please don't hurt me, but I put ketchup on them. And I say, see, it's controversy. I didn't realize that the tension today would be about East versus West, and this bagel versus that bagel, or ketchup on your egg.
The thing that I think about when I think about that, which is I think uniquely Montreal thing, and not just a uniquely Montreal thing, but a uniquely Montreal Jewish thing, is you can go to the pizza places, the dairy places, you can get kosher poutine, which uses like a par of gravy. But if you go to a meat place and they have a poutine, it's often a smoked meat poutine. And I feel like that is the most Jewish Canadian thing that I can possibly think of, is taking poutine and adding smoked meat to it instead of cheese. So on that note, I want you to all appreciate our roasted eggplant salad, and we'll be back soon enough.
While our guests enjoyed their meals, Yafa and I took some time to discuss our own relationships to food, including how the cultural impact can extend beyond cooking.
I remember that growing up, whenever my lips were dry, my mom was like, "Hutti sirij aleha." Put the oil of the tahini on your lips because it'll make you feel better. I know what? Exactly. I was like, Mom, that's not a thing. I want my lip gloss from Claire's Accessories. You know what I mean? She's like, this country raised you. What was interesting about that is when I grew up and I realized the oil of tahini was her balm or her salve for whatever, just put it on your lips, it'll moisturize you. Avi, are there any quirks in your family where, just I was speaking and then May was like, what? I don't know if my mom would have told me to put tahini on my lips as lip gloss, but is there any quirks from your family?
So I do remember, by the way, my mom would give us olive oil for chapped lips, so that was very similar.
All right.
But my dad had this thing that was the one thing that is going to take care of anything that ails you, Some of you are going to laugh, so make sure you laugh vocally when you say this. And if you've never heard of this, you're going to be a blank stare. But if you have heard of it, I want to hear, right, who's heard of a goggle muggle? Oh, so this was this like ancient Ashkenazi remedy for about everything that was like basically a milkshake with raw eggs in it. You know, like bodybuilder style. That like you would take my dad would make a milkshake and crack like 3 raw eggs into it and then put it in the blender.
Wow.
And he'd be like, that's going to take care of anything that's wrong with you.
Is your dad like jacked? Is he just
No.
like Superman?
My dad's a librarian. He's
Maybe he's just like a super hot librarian.
So definitely I think every family has stuff like that. I think my father was of that generation that tried to make sure that this ancient remedy would get carried forward to another generation. And I don't think I will ever do that to my kids.
Wow. I have a confession because I loved that we were doing a simple food-based podcast where we didn't have to get into the most difficult conversations every time. Because I will say that a lot of the podcast has been us having really heavy, difficult conversations. And I think sometimes it's radical to just have a regular interaction.
Sure. Yeah.
Does anybody here watch Schitt's Creek, the fabulous show? So for me, when I said to the gentleman here, like the producers, I said, do you remember like there was a relationship in the show and it was just not a big deal. It was just like 2 people fall in love and that's the end of the story. And so many viewers were like, thank you for just showing us as we are. And so I thought like, Avi, like, does that make sense to you? And why do you think it is radical for us to just have a meal together?
Well, I don't think it's radical at all. But I just, I think that we absolutely can and should be having more meals together. Absolutely. I guess the thing that I was thinking about that put me on the fence was, first of all, we're in an environment where we can have a chance to talk about it, right? If we were just offline and having a meal here, like, I think that would be great. I wouldn't want to necessarily talk about everything, but I just find that there's so many points, there's so many moments where we can find some shared common ground or find things where we don't have that commonality, but it's okay. The thing that I think about a lot, we had been talking about it in July when we were, at various establishments that weren't kosher. I'm very strict on kosher. You're fairly secular.
Yes.
And I realized that like kosher, there's no reasons given for any of like the laws, right? We don't have any kosher is because of this. But it's fairly obvious to anybody that's taken time to stop and look at how kosher works, or even how halal works to a certain extent, but I'm not going to get into halal, I'm not an imam, that it's designed in some way to separate us. That you're not supposed to have all the meals that you're with everybody all the time, right? To get technical, to get highfalutin for a minute, but I'll bring it back down. There's always this tension within any faith, within any culture, between universalism and particularism, between how much are we part of the world and we just are and everything and everybody's all together, and how much of it is like saved for our in-group. And there are meals which we save for our in-group that is for nobody else. That's how kosher helps us create those boundaries. There are holiday meals that tend to be private and just for us. And then there are times when it's universal. And I think about that tension every time you and I have interacted over food. And I think about that whenever I'm only eating kosher and there are people around me that are not. And I'm like, sometimes it's okay, but sometimes it's not. And we need to find the moments where even if you're keeping kosher, even if you're keeping halal, that we can sometimes, because it's not designed to keep us totally separate. You shouldn't be just putting it out there and saying, well, I will not have any meal with a non-Jew, but we should find the moments where we can and absolutely break the bread and then just have an ordinary meal. Let that stay in the background and just move forward and do that. I think that there's something there.
This has been In Good Faith, a podcast produced by the Canadian Jewish News, sponsored by the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, with support from the Ronald S. Roebuck Foundation. Our production team is Zach Kaufman and Michael Freeman.
If you think someone you know would appreciate this episode, please share it with them.
Thanks for listening.